Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to do SMR, self-myofascial release, using a foam roller. So this is a great way to get blood and oxygen to those muscles that maybe haven't been worked or they've been overworked. This just brings a lot of different benefits to the body. If you utilize this before your yoga, before starting to do some stretching, the two work hand in hand. It's a great tool. I'm not saying that if you do it one time, everything's going to be solved. Like everything, you have to build on it. It takes time. But if you start to use it, you'll start to feel relief, especially if you do it right and you find the right areas. Understand that for some people, some areas are more important than others, and it's vice versa. For other people, other areas might be important. So get to know your body, start to sense what it feels it needs, and let's get started. So I always like to start with the upper back never going too low and keeping the abdomen nice and tight, drawn in. So you can get it active by just trying to hit it and imagine like you're trying to protect it. From here, I'm going to support my neck so my neck is not working. Okay? I want my arms to hold my head so that it can relax. Once it's relaxed and my abs are tight, I can begin to lift up. If this is too much for you, go ahead and stay here, but keep those abs sucked in nice and tight. If you feel comfortable, you can begin to come up and down nice and slow. What you should start to focus on is your breathing. The slower and deeper you make your breaths, the more that your muscles can start to relax. I can bring my elbows together, just creating a little bit more space in my shoulder blades. As I start to go up and down, I can start to lift my hips higher. Once I get higher up towards my traps, gradually starting to lean to each side. Again, focus on your breathing. If there's an area that hurts you, you don't have to move up and down. Just stay there. Start to focus on your breathing. So again, we're starting to go up and down, just exploring different areas of the back. From here, we're going to start to roll over onto our back, getting into our lats, our teres major. This area might be sensitive for people, so go nice and slow. Again, don't feel as though you have to go up and down. I like to bend my knee. That way it gives me leverage to push up and down. Okay, so from here, I can lift up onto my legs and use my hips to push me up and down. Try to really reach at times. Get some movement, especially if you find a good spot. Actively moving through it is going to be a lot more beneficial than sometimes just sitting there. If you feel like your neck is getting tight from holding, you can use your other arm to support your head, or focus on this bottom arm. So again, you can start to come up and down. I like to get into that area between the back and the chest called your serratus, because the fascia there can also get tight, and this can affect the mobility of your shoulders. So sometimes you'll see me tilted a little more down versus sometimes coming back, right? So I'm just getting different areas that are all related to the health of my shoulders. So as we start to move on to the other side, I want you to focus on the difference between your left side and your right side. So as I make my transition to my right side, first thing I want to notice is there more pain? Is there more or greater sensitivity? So I'm going to start to warm it up. Again, I have that knee bent so that it allows me to go up and down. Again, I'm trying to cover as much area in the beginning as possible before narrowing it down. So I want to make sure that everything's nice and warm. And from there, if I find a good spot, I begin to get some movement in there. I can go rotating my palms up or down, reaching up with those different variations of where my palm is, going across. So generally I don't recommend going longer than maybe a minute on each side. Even a minute can be long, but over time, if you know what you're doing, you can spend a little bit more time on that. So, feeling the difference between my left and my right side. All right, so from here, I'm going to start to transition into my lower body. While there are methods of doing the lower back, generally speaking, for the most part, it can be a sensitive area, so I try to restrict it. If you are going to do it, always make sure to keep your abs tight. If you want a gentle way of getting in there, you can start in a bridge position and gently lower, keeping your abs tight. Again, this can be hard for many individuals, so what I would say is I recommend doing the rest of the foam rolling session without the lower back and then seeing how your lower back feels. For now, we're going to move on to the hip. So I'll go ahead and start to take a seat on here. I'm leaning over towards the hip that I'm on, hand behind me. I'm going to start going up and down, getting as much area as I can. So I'm going to roll towards my back, but staying on my hip. And I'm going to roll forward towards my hamstrings, but staying on those glutes. At the same time, I can tilt over more to each side. Okay, so feel around. Everybody's going to be a little bit different where they're tight from. If I want to increase this stretch, I'll bring my left ankle onto my right knee as I start to move up and down. Again, focus on your breathing. If you find a good spot, stay there. Really start to breathe into it. Try to relax the body. And again, as we transition to the right side, the main thing to pay attention to is the difference between each side. If one side is noticeably tighter, you just spend a little more time there or go back to it. So I'm going to go over towards my right side now. So one thing to know is that sometimes where the pain comes from isn't necessarily the source of the pain. So a lot of people might feel their lower back, but that might be due to tight hips, tight hip flexors, tight quads. So there's different factors that come into play. So it's important to get some movement and get to know your body. Start to feel the areas that are relieving you. Okay, because back pain can come from different areas, not just one. And the more that you explore your body and you start to stretch and strengthen, you get to know what you need a little bit better. Alright, so from here we're going to start to transition towards the quads. We're going to start in a plank position. And if you've never done this, you might want to start with both legs. And as you become more comfortable with foam rolling and understanding how to do it, you can do one leg at a time. So if you feel like you need to do two legs at the same time, you'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and start with one leg. As you see, I'm going to slide it over onto my left side. And I'm going to start right in the middle, the belly of the muscle. Okay? If you go too low and you start to feel your knee, just restrict how far down you're going. From here, I want to try to get as much area as possible, going up and down. I'm going to get closer to my knee as long as I'm not feeling any sensitivity on it. The moment I start to feel anything, you can go ahead and stop there and restrict how far up and down you're going. From here, you can start to rotate a little bit towards the inside of the leg, not too much. And you can start to rotate a little bit towards the outside by just turning or rotating that foot. If you find a really good spot, go ahead and stay there and start to focus on your breath. Breathing a little deeper, a little slower. Now, if I want to increase the tension, what I'll do is I'll start to bring my heel towards my butt. This is going to open my quad, maybe get a little bit deeper into the muscle. And then as I bring that foot back down and compress the muscle, sometimes you'll feel a little bit more tension or start to find those areas of tightness in the body. Alright, so right now we're about to get into the side of the leg or the piriformis. It's important, guys, that you understand that everybody's different. There's some people that need certain areas more than others. Get to know the areas that you need. A lot of times people can overroll this area, so I would recommend just starting nice and light. And then if you feel like it helps you, you can see if going a little bit more will help more. So I'm going to start in a side plank position with my top leg planted. That way I can alleviate the pressure, because for a lot of people, this is a highly sensitive area. From here, I'm going to go right in between the hip and the knee as I start to come up and down. Again, push off of your heel if you need to alleviate tension. For many people, this is probably the most sensitive area. Okay? So again, feel free to rotate. If you find a good spot, you can bend at the knee and then extend. And you can start to see how this area is affected by both when you bend the knee and you extend it. If you feel like you need to rotate from the side towards the front, that's another good way to just start to break down some of that tissue. Alright, so now I'll go to the other side. Again, I'm going to bring this over so that I have enough space. Come up and down. Focus on breathing. Again, getting as much area as possible. Find a good spot. You can bend and then extend. Feel free to rotate internally slightly, externally slightly. Again, start to feel a difference between your left and your right side. Now we're going to go to the side of the leg. Again, that top leg is planted, allowing me to take tension off when needed. Again, I can start to come up and down, nice and slow. When you're all done with this, if you felt like your left side needed this more, you can go back to your left. If you feel like this side needs it more, you can stay on here a little bit longer. A lot of times we'll find those discrepancies in different areas. For example, you might have your left hip tight, but your right quad tight, and then the opposites will be not so tight. So again, everybody's a little bit different. Depending on the areas that you need, you might be a little higher, a little bit lower, more on the quads, more on the piriformis. Get to know your body and what it needs. Good. So we'll come off of here. I'm just going to get into a child's pose for a second. Kind of shift a little bit. Allow those quads to open. Alright, so I'm going to end with my calves. So same thing, I can go 2 at a time or 1 at a time. If I'm doing 2 at a time, I can either go from here with one leg planted to help me go forward and back. Or if I want additional tension, I can place one foot on top of the other and start to come up and down. So again, start with getting as much area as possible. Don't just go up and down the center. Rotate that foot to the outside and go all the way up and down. Rotate it towards the inside. Start to go up and down. Start to feel the specific areas of the calves that might need it. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch legs. Starting to come up and down. This can be a little tiring on the arms, so feel free to take breaks. If you need to sit down, shake out the hands, you can do that. At the same time, it is a workout, so if you're not currently working out, this could be your start right here as you loosen your body. Alright, so we're all done with that, our foam rolling session. Again, this is great if you feel tight, if you feel tension in certain areas, to just reduce that tension. It's also good for recovery. So if you're super tight from training, this is a great way to recover faster. Like I said, this isn't going to solve all your problems with pain, but it's a great start. And if you utilize this along with proper flexibility and strength training, I'm sure you can definitely get rid of a lot of the pains you might have. So I hope you enjoyed.